It's another beautiful day in Southern California. Highs will be in the low 80s in the valley, mid-70s at the beaches. Now here's a special request from Tarzana taking us back to 1979.
In 1979, like most residents of Los Angeles, I was horrified by the details of the Bittaker Norris murders.
I've been drifting on the sea of heartbreak, trying to get myself ashore for so long.
20 years later, I would find myself in Hermosa Beach, California. I presumed that Lawrence Bittaker must have died in prison or been executed. I was stunned to find out from longtime residents that he was very much alive on California's death row at San Quentin. After hearing more specific details about Norris and Bittaker, I decided to find out exactly why Bittaker's sentence had never been carried out. Even then, it would take many years before someone, anyone, would talk to me about the crimes and punishment of Lawrence Bittaker.
Listening to the strangest stories, wondering where it all went wrong.
A jury of 7 women and 5 men today began hearing the case against 40-year-old Lawrence Bittaker, a Burbank machinist.
But hold on to what you got.
The trial is expected to take 2 months. Because the multiple killings constitute special circumstances, Bittaker could get the death penalty if convicted.
So hold on.
Having been part of this trial is a painful experience, and people have asked me, well, you were on the Manson case, that has to be the worst ever. No, this is the worst ever. Because these were children. The tape that we found in Bittaker's van, which is just the most awful thing that you could ever hear. The tape reaches down inside you and pulls out your insides, listening to a 16-year-old girl getting tortured. It's just so haunting. The jurors were just in absolute shock.
It was the most devastating testimony the jury has heard, the agonizing screams of teenager Lynette Ledford as she was being tortured in a moving van. A spectator rushed from the courtroom. It was more than she could stand.
I wasn't sleeping much in the trial, and when I did sleep, I would have this recurring nightmare. I would hear the girls screaming, and I would be running to save them, and I would always get there too late.
By the end of 1981, when Lawrence Bittaker arrived on death row, there were 80 condemned inmates in California. Bittaker would have 3 execution dates set for him, but he would successfully avoid all 3. As of February 2012, there are 722 condemned inmates on death row at San Quentin. In 2012, a petition drive began to place a referendum on the November 2012 ballot to repeal the death penalty.
I would strongly support an initiative to repeal the death penalty in California. Errors in the criminal justice system. People being wrongly convicted and sentenced to death, even though they were actually innocent. We shouldn't impose the ultimate punishment when it's irreversible, and we know the system is so often flawed.
You have to remember that the voters of California in 1978 voted in the death penalty law by a wide margin, and that's the death penalty law that's still in effect today. So for me, it's not a question of expense, it's a question of justice.
On the night the girls disappeared, I had a horrible dream. I saw the devil.